I was taking my life for granted because I was like confronted with how like short life can be. You know, my dad was like in his 40s.
Yeah.
And to think that he just like may never wake up again. I wouldn't have to live with the idea that someone who was so important to me could like die and go on to the next life if there is one without me being honest about who I was with them. I think because they're not open about it, it becomes all consuming to them. And so they can't like check that part of them. They're like compulsively cheating.
It almost becomes like an addiction.
Yes.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Maddie.
And this is
The Newport Psycho.
Hi, everybody. We have Chatty Daddy on with us today.
Hello, hi.
I love that she loves that. She's
Thank
just
you
like,
for having
she's like
me.
Chad and Chatty Daddy. This is going to be your
Chatty
name from
Daddy.
now on. From
Yeah.
now on, Ashley.
It
only
has
that.
to be. It has to be.
But do you know where that name came from?
No.
Do you remember when like Finstas were a thing on
Yes.
Instagram?
Oh, like when it was a fake
Yes.
one?
Yes, my like high school best friend at the time literally just gave me that name for my Finsta, and so it's Chatty Daddy. That was the birth of that.
That's like so catchy though. Like
I
you should
love
trademark
that.
shit.
I love that.
Chatty Daddy for all the Chads out there.
Yep.
All the Chads out there are going to
You
use
can't
Chatty
take it
Daddy.
though.
You
He's
can't take
forever
it.
this.
He's trademarking
Yeah.
that shit.
So, Chad, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm 26 years old. I had to think about it. Just
I was
turned
going to say, do you
26.
not want to? Do you
I was
not
like,
want to
do
be
you not wanna be
26? He's like, how the fuck
I
old
know.
am I?
Yeah. I live here in Newport Beach. I'm a local realtor. So if you guys want to,
Got his real estate license.
Yes.
Chatty Daddy the realtor.
Chatty Daddy the realtor.
Oh, damn.
I actually ran that idea by one of the consultants, and they were like, absolutely not. They
Oh.
were like, no, that's just not professional enough. I was like, okay, well, you know.
Okay, well,
Maybe
whatever
someday in the
consultant
future.
you were, I'm going to say no. Chatty Daddy the realtor. I would go to Chatty Daddy. I would go to
Oh,
Chatty
okay,
Daddy.
but you know what also came up was Chatty the property daddy.
I like that.
I like
Me
that.
too.
Chatty the property
Did we just make his
daddy.
realtor?
No, well, he did, but we'll
Yeah.
take, if we can
Anyway.
take any
No,
credit, we'll do it.
Yeah, Newport Psycho.
But yeah, I mean, I never know how to answer that question. Describe myself. That's my demographic data. I'm white. I'm a quarter Native American.
So, Chad,
Yes, Maddie.
who's your psycho?
Okay, great question. My psycho was being closeted. So I came out when I was 17, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But my psycho was being in the closet. And it made me psycho, like crazy. It's like so many other things in life where it makes you crazy and you don't even realize it when you're in that moment. You know, like I was just going about life as normal.
We'll start from day one.
Yeah. Okay, sure. So day one, I met this beautiful planet Earth. Day two, I was walking around in my grandma's high heels. So like,
I love that.
so
love this.
So you knew.
Do you remember what the hills look like? I'm just like Ted because I
Oh,
think of like grandmother hills, you know.
no, my grandma, I was super close with both of my grandmas. One of them is still alive, but the one that I'm referencing was like the most classy, beautiful woman. She was just like decked from head to toe in like diamonds and gold, and she had the best shoes. She wore dresses all the time. And so, anyway, I would walk around the house in her high heels any chance I got, like this high of a heel, red, you know. But
That's
anyway,
what I was
so
thinking was a red heel. Like I
It's
just
red,
picture
yeah.
him in a
I
red
know.
heel.
I was hoping it was red.
red
too.
heels, matching red lipstick on my grandma, not on me. You know,
Yes.
but everybody around me knew that I was gay except for me, which is wild to me. I mean, like, obviously I knew. I ended up coming out, but they said they knew that I was gay from like the time I was a child. And I think like I always tried to separate it out because I was like, well, why is it that just because I like jewelry or just because I like to wear high heels or whatever? I mean, granted, this is like when I was a kid, but then even in like middle school, I wasn't super into sports. You know, I didn't play on the basketball team. I didn't play football. Like I played volleyball, you know, and didn't run track. And those were the sports that were available in like the Catholic school that I went to in junior high. And then,
Oh, that must have been very.
oh yeah. Yeah,
Cool.
very traumatic.
I love that you chose the sport that you look the hottest in, like the shorter shorts and the nice shirt. I'm like,
not for guys. I wish.
oh, you don't think? I
Can you
feel like they
imagine?
have the little cute cutoff and like the shorts. I'm like,
I feel like volleyball players. Is
yeah.
like,
Or am I just thinking beach? Is that different? And
No,
like,
I think beaches.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
I think
Oh,
we're both
different.
thinking beach.
Different.
I
I'm
think we're
thinking
both
beach. I'm thinking
Oh
beach.
no, I know.
Yeah.
Southern California here, so we think life happens at the beach. But no, it was all indoor volleyball.
Not the
But
same.
again, this is like private Catholic schools. I was wearing like
Long johns.
I felt like I was wearing pants.
Yeah.
Like the shorts came down past my knee. I'm not kidding. Like the jersey, the thing came down like past
It was
my
bigger
elbow.
than you. You were like, what is
Feel
going
like
on
I'm
here? I
trying. It feels
can't
like a trash
even.
bag.
Totally. And then like recently I've been more into like, going to the gym and strength training and
You look
stuff like
great.
this. So thank you. I appreciate that. So I do have a little bit more muscle now. But up until like maybe 5 years ago, I looked like a dead tree branch, like anybody could just like break me in half.
Like literally like a twig. When they say
Yeah.
like, someone looks like a twig,
Just a little
it's Chad.
It
string
was-
bean,
yeah.
little string bean.
It's kind of like, the term twink. I totally was a twink. Now I'm a
Aw.
twunk because I'm kind of like,
I
yeah,
literally
you
have
are.
never
You're a
heard that
hunk.
expression, a twink. Have you?
actually, you're kidding me.
No,
How do
Dad,
you
I've
not?
heard it
Dead.
like
I
by
literally have
people
never-
way younger than me. That's why I kind of feel bad about it. But
Okay,
I have
I
heard
just
it.
aged myself, didn't I?
Yeah, you
Well,
did.
I don't
Put it
think
back,
you-
reel it in.
Yeah, but I feel like we got to talk about this for a second.
Yeah, what's a twink?
What is a twink?
Okay, gay vocabulary 101, right? Twink is a kind of more of like a boyish looking, but they don't have to be young. You can be a twink and be like 65 years old, but
Oh.
just like not a lot of muscle mass, very like skinny,
Skinny, scrawny.
meat and bones, skinny, scrawny.
Okay.
On the opposite end of on the opposite end of one spectrum, we have hunks. So think
Oh.
about like Karis, or somebody who's just very
My
like
man.
yeah, Maddie's man, very like heavy, muscular.
He's
He's a
thick with
brute.
3
He's
Cs.
just like, I am here. I
Yes.
am man. I am powerful.
ain't
Yeah.
no twink. He's a hunk.
Yep.
So I'm not really either one. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. So I'm
Can
a
we
twunk.
think of a twunk? I was just about to say, can we think of a name? And you already did.
Yeah,
You're a
well,
twunk.
it wasn't me. It was the gay.
Oh, so
community.
there
Yeah.
is already
You
that.
can't
Okay.
take that from the
Yeah.
Maddie.
Sorry, I was gonna give it to Chad. Honestly,
So yeah, I appreciate that. But there's other
So you're
terms
a
too,
twunk.
like cubs, otters, bears. But that.
what's a bear?
Wait, cubs and otters?
What's an otter?
Like otters?
Yeah, we're just going down a slippery slope. But like a bear is like a large person who's not necessarily has a lot of like.
Muscle mass. They're just large.
Well, I think in order to be large, you kind of have to have.
Yeah,
So it's not that they don't have muscle mass; it's just that it's not obviously visible.
like the hunk.
Right. So
Okay.
they're heavy
Okay.
and hairy.
So they
The bear. I mean,
okay.
it makes sense.
Well, yeah,
That makes
Okay,
sense.
now I have
Okay.
a perfect picture.
Okay, so,
So-
you
but
were a twink. Now
yeah.
you're
A twunk.
twunk.
Why did we start talking about this? So
because we were getting to where your
okay.
physical
No,
appearance
it was the
as a
jersey. It was the jersey.
Yes.
We're talking about volleyball jerseys.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh, your poor listeners. We're just like going all over the
honestly,
place.
I feel like they'd be fascinated because I was.
Yeah, seriously, because I didn't know what the hell it was.
Okay, so I was a tiny little twink in a very oversized, non-flattering jersey playing volleyball. And again, just to wrap this point up, everybody who knew me like well and even not that well could kind of tell that I was gay. But I was very much in denial of that. And that's because I grew up in a very, very conservative Irish Catholic household. And so that like literally is, I think, my psycho, like growing up in a conservative Irish Catholic household and not being able to just be open about who I am,
Yeah.
Who I was and who I am. And that made me like crazy.
Did you ever feel like you were gonna get like exiled because of like
Absolutely.
you knew that you were obviously different, and
Yes.
so you didn't. Obviously, you said your family knew that you were gay, but you like yourself.
Well, right. And so I was raised by mostly my grandmother. And I think you guys have both met her.
She's amazing.
yeah, she's
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah, so I was
love
raised
grams.
by my grandmother, and she's, this very nice Irish Catholic woman, but still very traditional and conservative. And she's come a very long way. My coming out process was a walk in the park compared to a lot of people who are gay. And I attribute a lot of that to my sibling. So growing up, I was one of 3 children. I had 2 sisters and there was me. And now I have 1 sister and 1 sibling. So she is gender nonconforming.
Okay.
And so, but at the time when I was growing up, she was gay. Now she's, not gay because she's no longer identifies as a woman. She's just says that she's queer.
Is that non-binary? Is that
Explain,
correct terminology? I just want to make sure I'm saying it correctly.
Yeah, explain, go into that, because I feel like there's a lot of confusion. I mean, even for myself, like there's a lot of confusion where it's like, it is like the grammar and like how to be correct and how to address.
And we never want to offend anybody,
Absolutely not. It's like not where we're about. So I'd actually love to learn more about it. So this way I can like go on life, like not making people feel like that
from what
not
she
them.
said, what or they.
Yes, they. There we go.
Thank you. I fixed it. So what they would like to be known as.
But it's confusing because we're talking about different points in time.
Yeah,
and so
exactly.
at that time, she was a she. Now they's a they.
When you grew up, your sister was lesbian.
Right. Except not always. So my sister is 7 years older than me. My sibling is 7 years older than me.
You're the youngest.
I'm the youngest.
Okay.
I was the baby. Am the baby still. And she came out when I was still in elementary school. So she also came out in high school. And I came out when I was a senior in high school.
Oh, wow. That's like a long time, but we can get to that.
Right. I know. So like childhood, it's not like I was just in the 4th grade and was like, Chad's gay, F everyone else.
Yeah. Chad's gay, end of story,
it's
K.
Chad's way or the highway.
It took you 18 years.
Yeah, really.
Same with your sister, it sounds like.
Yes. Except my sister, she was a little bit, she came out a little bit earlier because she was always very, we both kind of like pave our own paths, but she found that way in life much earlier than I did.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why my coming out process was a walk in the park was because she took the grunt of like all of the shock and disbelief and denial of my family. And so,
so she literally took all the brunt
and
of
so
it.
My family had like 7 years to warm up to the idea of what it meant to have a gay son, or not a gay son, but like a gay child, or yeah. So my heart goes out to people who are still scared to come out and are still scared to be who they are because they're scared that other people who are important to them will reject them. But it was the best thing I could have ever done, for myself.
How did your family like react when your sister did decide to come out? Like, how was that reaction?
Okay, so I don't really remember all that well because, again, I was pretty young, but it wasn't great. My sister got kicked out of the house, and even that is up for debate because she feels that she was kicked out because it was like not a safe place for her. But my grandma insists that she didn't kick her out, but regardless, she didn't feel comfortable and safe at home, and so at a very young age, considerably, she ended up moving away from home so that she could be just honestly who she was and not feel bad about it. And I think that was very hard for her, but also one of the best things she could have ever done for herself. My family growing up was so tight-knit, like every weekend my extended family would come over for barbecues and we'd hang out at the pool. And so it was very, very difficult for her to feel like she couldn't be a part of that. And fast forward all these years, everything is like basically much back to normal, but better because we can actually appreciate everyone for who they are and not for who we want them to be.
You can be yourselves.
Yeah.
Instead of
so when you came out, like, what was like, how did you do it? Like, what was the impact? Like, how'd you say it? Like, obviously you weren't kicked out, like such as your sister. You said that, like, she kind of took the harder hit in that sense.
Right. And I also think too that like it wasn't just that. I think the fact that she had already come out was a huge part of it, but I also was like the baby. in the family, and I feel like we get away with murder in comparison.
true. It's true.
My brother gets away. You know who you are.
Scott and Peggy, thank you. I'm the baby.
Yeah. No, I'm you babies.
Yeah.
You guys get away with everything.
So for many reasons, it was like easier for me in comparison, and comparison is always a difficult game to play. But I do feel objectively it was much easier for me to come out. But the story behind me coming out is pretty sad. So my dad went into a coma when I was in my senior year of high school in January.
How? What happened?
It's so weird because I didn't know this until after he passed away. So like 7 months after that, he ended up dying by suicide. But my family, kind of like kept all of this from me. But essentially that January, he tried to commit suicide, but it didn't work.
Okay.
And so
that must have been really hard for you.
It was incredibly difficult.
I can't even imagine.
Incredibly, and like to this day, I'm still so unbelievably like frustrated and angry because the way he ended up killing himself was using pills, right? But when he came out of the coma, obviously, I didn't know any of this. All of this information was hidden from me. But obviously the doctors and the nurses in the hospital knew that that's what was going on. I thought it was just like, I didn't even know what to think. I was like, I guess some people just go into comas.
Yeah, you're like, all of a sudden,
oblivious.
one day, walk in coma. What?
Yeah.
Literally, and he had, it wasn't like I didn't know about all of the challenges that he was having. Like he struggled a lot with alcohol addiction. And so I wasn't living with him at the time. He was living with his, very, very long time girlfriend, who's an amazing, amazing woman and did a lot for my dad. But
shout out to the girlfriend.
Yeah. So, sorry, just gotta take a second.
It's okay.
No, it's okay.
Take all the time you need.
But after that, before this was all before I even knew that he tried to to kill himself. I just remember it being so like, I just totally felt like I was living a lie. I totally felt like I was taking my life for granted because I was like confronted with how like short life can be. Right. My dad was like in his 40s.
Yeah.
And to think that he just like may never wake up again, like I couldn't sleep. I was like,
you're also harboring a secret,
right?
Like that you haven't came out yet.
Exactly. And so it's very difficult for me to talk about because I came out so that I wouldn't have to live with the idea that someone who was so important to me could like die and go on to the next life if there is one without me being honest about who I was with them.
Truly knowing you.
Right, without truly knowing me. And the reason why it's bittersweet is because after my dad, eventually, thank goodness, did come out of the coma, he kept all of us at, arm's length. And he was obviously in a very, very dark place in his life and struggling. And so even though he ended up coming out of his coma, we didn't really like have a relationship until, we didn't really have a relationship. And then 5 months later, actually, because it's May, he passed away. And I learned after the fact that the doctor who was treating him in the emergency room literally told him like, oh, well, you should have just taken more of X and it would have worked.
Damn.
Holy, like, what, like, the thing is there's just some things that, like, that I don't have words. I'm actually speechless with that one.
So if I was listening to the story, I would, I'm critical, I'd be like, well,
right.
How could you know that? You weren't there. You didn't even know that your dad tried to kill himself the first time.
Right.
But my dad's best friend, like lifetime best friend that I've known since I was a baby, is a priest in the Catholic Church. And he like literally testified to this fact that while he was in the room, the physician told him those exact words.
Yeah,
Well,
and a
if you
priest,
would-
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You can't lie.
Well, obviously
No.
priests lie. And,
Yeah, that's
You
true.
know.
It's true.
but there's no incentive,
Yeah,
for-
like
for
why would
him-
why would he just say that?
That's
but-
like that's something that I felt like that would be a terrible lie to
Right.
tell somebody.
Yeah,
Like, why would you
what
wanna live
benefit
with
would
that?
it
Yeah,
have?
There's zero benefit.
So from what happened with your dad, it in a sense gave you motivation in a sense
Totally.
like to come
Yeah.
out.
So again, getting back on track here, I apologize. Despite the fact that I didn't get to share that aspect of my life with my dad, I came out to everybody around me.
Okay, so you didn't ever get to tell him.
No,
Okay.
but I think maybe he's
he's
listening.
watching
maybe
right now, and he's
watching.
like,
Chatty dad.
He's
He
like,
knows.
I knew when you had the heels on, I knew.
Yeah, yeah,
The red ones.
yeah. I individually texted every single person on my volleyball team because I didn't want it to like affect our team. And I had a template for texts sent and ready to go.
Chad's
Oh my
just
gosh,
like
just
walking
like-
down the street to the mail guy. I'm gay.
I'm
I'm gay. Yeah. Hey, I'm gay.
And
Like,
so-
good for you. Like, sing it
everybody
to the
gets a text
mountaintop.
at
But I love
8:01
this.
PM.
Like, yeah, all of a sudden.
Well, but like looking back, it seems ridiculous, but it just shows you that I was so terrified that I would not be either number one, that I would not be accepted,
Mhm.
which luckily ended up not at all being the case, or number two, that like because I went to an all boys Catholic high school and sports were a really big deal. So I
So
did
this was an all boys school.
yeah, all boys Catholic high school.
Oh shit.
Oh, wow.
But
Oh,
okay,
shit.
so that's what everybody thinks, and that's what I was worried about at the beginning too. I went to high school. It's an all boys Catholic high school. It's the only
Okay.
all boys Catholic high school in Orange County, but there's basically 5 Catholic high schools.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I was going to a Catholic school because that was just my family, and there was no world in which I was not going to go to a Catholic school. But
Yeah.
I begged and begged and begged for months my 8th grade year to like go to literally any other high school because all of my friends were girls, all of them. My dad went there, my uncles went there. It was like a family thing.
You were going there.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's an all boys school. If all the boys want your family, you sure. as
So
heck
how
are
did
on
that
one.
impact you?
It ended up being literally the best place I could have gone. The best place. There was no drama. And I feel like that's one of the great things with guys is that
That's true.
they didn't give a shit.
We're the drama.
Yeah, I'd
They
be scared to
did
go to the
drama.
all girls school, man.
They didn't give a shit. And it
Is it-
shocked me.
About you being gay.
Not at all. And some people had a problem with it.
But this was like your senior year, right?
This is
That
my
you-
senior year.
Okay, got it.
Some people had a problem with it, but looking back, without, speaking for people who I shouldn't speak for, I think a lot of the people that had a problem with it were gay too.
I didn't want to say that, but I'm like, they were probably
Or maybe not gay, maybe they were bisexual, maybe they like
they were like
both, but they
yeah.
definitely liked guys a little bit. But anyway, so it was
You went from having 0 friends to, hey Chad, how's it
Yeah.
going? How's it going?
literally. And I had such a fun time in high school. Like sexuality aside, I was super involved. I was like the president of the Red Cross Club. I was the chairman of the activities committee. So
of course you
I
were.
was
I
gonna
love
say,
this.
like, case in point.
unsurprisingly, like I planned all the school dances and all of like the pep rallies because we had, and you have the face that you guys are making. You're like, it was an all boys school. What dances were you having?
I literally was like,
Do you
just
get
thinking
to
that.
just
No,
invite people?
we
like,
had sister schools.
so there was an all girls
Girls'
sister
school?
school,
There's
right?
2, yeah. So like we would try school, but we would have all of our dances together. But honestly, I had such a fun time in high school, and
How were the
So-
teachers like with you coming out? Because
I was gonna say and not only that, but everybody was accepting. Like you didn't really run into too many people that weren't. It seems like.
I really didn't. And I think
like not even like teachers or anything like that.
there was one.
That's incredible.
Okay, so but there was one, and it wasn't a teacher, it was a priest. So
Oh.
I only had like this one awful experience. And so in my high school, every senior goes on this religious retreat called Kairos. And the purpose of the retreat is for the students to spend time with God and to contemplate what God's vocation is for you. And so
Okay.
like I don't know about like non-Catholic Christian denominations, but in the Catholic Church, it teaches that everybody has a vocation, and so your vocation can be to become a priest. Your vocation can
I was going
be...
to say, what was your vocation?
My vocation was to live secularly, meaning not to join the religious life and become a priest and, to become a nun or a deacon or like any of those things. But it was to contemplate, because your senior year of high school, everyone's trying to figure out where you're going to go to college, what are you going to study, what are you going to do? So I ended up being a realtor, but, not a priest, thank goodness. But as part of this retreat, you spend a lot of time in small groups. You spend a lot of time alone and like praying. And it's this very emotional thing because the school coordinates having all of like the close people in your life and even in your church, like write letters for you to read on this retreat. And so like your teacher from second grade may have written you a letter and like all of these things. So it's just very emotional. And in the Catholic Church, there's a sacrament called confession, where do you guys know what confession is?
Yes. My dad was raised Catholic.
I went to a Jesuit college.
Okay,
so.
okay, got it. So you guys know what confession is. But basically, for people who are listening that don't know what it is, you meet with the priest and you're supposed to confess or share even like possible sins, or like any time you fell short of the mark or like committed a sin. This was at a time when I was really struggling with my relationship with God, because the only God I knew was like through the Catholic Church.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really shocking to me because everybody had been really supportive. And I think that's because, quite honestly, and maybe again, it's just where I grew up, but quite honestly, I don't think that a lot of people in general like really hate gay people. Like
Right.
It just hasn't been my experience. I think people who are hypersensitive to it maybe need to explore a little bit why they're hypersensitive to the topic.
Like there's an underlying feeling inside.
Maybe, I don't know,
Yeah.
and it's not for me to say, but
Right.
I think anytime you're talking about something and people get reactive and hypersensitive, usually there's like reasons why.
Yeah.
So anyway, this priest, like at this point, I had gone to confession like 50 times maybe, like you go at Easter and Christmas and like all these things, but I'd probably gone to like 50 confessions and they were all very like standard, but I had never like confessed to a priest before that I had had sex with another man, or that I had kissed another man or like sent explicit messages to a man.
Oh, so this was
like the first time I ever like confessed it, because I thought it was a sin. I now obviously no longer feel that was sinful,
Right.
but I confessed it to him, and it was just so shocking to me because I knew this priest. I was like, I just telling you how much I did in high school. Like I sang in high school, and I literally was like the singer for the masses at church. So like we would have a mass, and I would like sing all of the music. And so I would like do these masses with the priest. Oh, my voice it's not like it used to be.
She's not what she used to be.
I know my voice
rusty.
needs to have some like micro needling or something.
Yeah, help my vocal cords, make them young again.
But it was really awkward because he was like very upset, and he told me, he was like, that is the most sinful thing you could do, blah blah blah. And he told me that if I didn't change, that I would go to hell.
Oh my.
Which is like
not be gay, basically.
Right. But not be gay, but specifically about having sex. But he literally said that to me. And no priest is ever supposed to tell anyone that they're going to hell, because the whole idea of confession is that
to save yourself from
to save yourself from going to hell. Because Catholics believe that if you die and you have any sin on your heart, that you'll either go to purgatory or to hell, you know. But if like, I always used to joke when I was a kid, because I would try to cheat the system, I would say like, I hope that I get shot walking out of confession, so that way I just go like straight to heaven. Because like
you're just gonna skip the line.
Literally, or like,
well, you already forgive me. Take me up.
Exactly.
Take me up.
Then
I don't want to go to purgatory.
Straight to heaven. But anyway, so, you know, priests shouldn't be telling people that they're going to hell. But
well, especially like a young, like when you're young like
an
that.
impressionable twink.
Yeah. A cute little twink.
A cute little twink.
Now you a twunk.
Now I'm a twunk.
Any backlash from teachers? Any backlash from students?
That was the only backlash. Everyone else was super understanding.
Were there a lot of other like gay boys at your school? I guess I could say boys or men, depending on how old they were. But
so,
you know,
there obviously were, and now you know that everyone's been out of high school for quite a long time. There's a lot more people who have come out. But before we talk about that, I do just want to say, I know for a fact that it was exponentially easier for me to come out at an all-boys school for the very reason that I said, which is that there was just literally no drama. If I had gone to like any of the other co-ed schools, there would have been drama.
Chad's gay.
And it would have just been this
like
huge
wildfire
thing. And it's because you know what it is? It's when you take girls out of the picture, guys don't feel the need to like put on this macho persona, and like they're not worrying about what other girls are going to think about them if they have a gay friend, or you know that they're eating lunch with a person who's gay. So in hindsight, it was like where God wanted me to be. You know, it was.
That's really interesting that you put it that way.
But I never would have thought that ever.
Yeah.
But it ended up being the case. So I sent text messages to everybody that I knew. Check that off the list.
Told your mailman.
I told my mailman. I wrote a letter to my grandma because I couldn't I didn't have it in me to like tell her. And she actually kind of, she was the only one where she kind of said that she was surprised. But I think it was because...
was this the grandmother with the red heels?
No. She had unfortunately passed away at that time. But it was the grandma who raised me, Grandma Pat. And I've thought a lot about it. And I think it's because my sibling gets really mad because I say that, like, when I have kids, if I were to have kids tomorrow, I kind of would hope that they would not be gay. I would hope that they would be straight. And the reason is because as a parent, you want your kid to have like an easy life. Mm-hmm. You know, like you don't want to see your kid struggle, and you don't want to see your kid get made fun of, and you don't want to see your kid fight battles they shouldn't have to fight. And that really pisses off my sibling because that's not how it should be.
Yeah, it's like heartbreaking to think
But it's true, you know? And so I think like my grandma really just wanted me to have an easy life. She didn't want me to get made to go through all of that. And I think that's what it was. But, you know, I told my sibling, my sister at the time, and I spoke with her earlier today talking about coming on the podcast. And I was like, well, what do you remember? And she was like, I just remember that you looked so scared. And I thought you were going to tell me that you were sick and dying of something, that you had cancer or something. But then when I kind of figured out where you were going with it, I was like, oh, that's it? That's it? Bitch, you gay?
Yeah. She's like, I've been there, done that. I know this.
I thought you had cancer.
She was like, no, we all know, you know, it's not a big deal. And so that I had a pretty easy time with it overall.
But the thing that was hardest for you was being closeted for so long.
That was the psycho.
That was the psycho part of it, of feeling like you couldn't come out. I mean, you came out at, I'm assuming 17 or 18?
17.
So that's like 17 years of like
not truly being yourself.
And like that's can cause like a lot.
That I think is the most important part, is that when you, and there's like libraries and libraries of social science research to support this, it doesn't just have to be like feelings about sexuality, But when you suppress any feelings at all, if you're someone that suppresses that you're angry or you don't let yourself feel anything, the social science research overwhelmingly shows that all it does is intensify those feelings. Like one study, they showed people really distressing images and while they were hooked up to an MRI, and they told them to try not to feel anything. And then and then the other group, they said, we're going to show you some distressful images. Pay attention to how you feel. Afterwards, the group that tried to suppress their emotions, like they all had a huge spike in their emotions afterwards, after they weren't seeing,
were off.
after the images were off. And it just is so true, because I mean, I can't imagine that if I was still in the closet, the kind of person that I would be
so unhappy.
I would be it's like so unhappy.
People that resent, like start to resent in like relationships and that, like when you don't like talk about like your feelings, you know, and like then you start to resent that person because like you're so, something's bothering you so much, but you're not saying it. So then every time they do it, you start to resent more and get angry. And then that's like why like couples start lashing out at each other, or like you behave in different ways. Like you resent your job. And so like you're always pissed off when you go to work, but like you don't say it, you know?
Right.
You start to hold that in. Like I can't even imagine holding something that's truly who you are and like who you are as a human being, not being able to just be authentically you for that long. Like, of course people are going to lash out.
And that was the other aspect of it too, is at that time, I was kind of like starting to realize that, because again, like I was going through puberty. And so that's already kind of like a hypersexual time, you know,
your hormones are starting to
like your hormones are wacky or raging up and down, you know, testosterone is going whack.
I was probably crazy at 16. I was crazy. I was a psycho at that point.
So I kind of knew that being gay was an important part of me, but it certainly was not even like the most important part of me.
Wasn't your identity.
Like I would say that being gay is like 10% of me. Like it's an important part of me, but it's not the whole me. But by not being open, it was all consuming. It was like the only thing I could think about, and I wasn't able to like put it in the box that it belonged in.
So that 10% overruled the 90% of who
for
you were.
Sure.
Because of like harboring those feelings.
And I see that all the time. You know, like I've been in a relationship with my boyfriend now for like, I'd say like a year and a half. So we have a what our therapist calls as our monogamy agreement. So we are in a monogamous relationship. And so, you know, that was a choice that we made, and that's not the best, you know, doesn't mean that's right or wrong. It's just a choice that we made.
Yeah, that you two made together.
And,
which I think should be established for every relationship.
Absolutely. But you'd be surprised. Some people, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So
some of us may be more surprised than others. Not Maddie. Maddie's in a monogamous, really good relationship.
Ashley's single. So
I don't have to worry about that.
Ashley
Karis is like, what the are you talking about?
But, and there's nothing, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with people who are in open relationships and they both agree on that. And
I was going to say, it's an agreement. You establish that.
Totally. But not for me. I'm way too, that would become my next psycho. I mean, like open relationship, and I would kind of go a little bit crazy.
Oh, man.
So, but, people who are not open about that, like I said, people who, let me just put it like this. The amount of people who are either gay or bisexual but get married to women is astronomical. It's crazy. Before I was in a relationship, and the whole point of me saying that I was in a monogamous relationship is that I'm not on Grindr or Sniffies or any of these other apps where like it's super easy to just like find someone to hook up with. Yeah, Sniffies is like an up and coming one.
We learned something new every day.
I literally have learned so many things with Chad today.
I know.
Well, you guys have my number, you know, just
I know. If we ever have a
just let me know. But I want to say like half, maybe that's a lot, but 40% of the people on the apps are hiding the fact that they're gay.
Oh, that's so sad.
Like they're in, like you've actually experienced like they're in relationships with like
For
women.
sure.
That's like
married men.
Married men.
Oh, to women.
Yeah. And to men, there's
to men,
gay
I was
cheaters
gonna
too,
say-
but what I was talking about is the straight cheaters that are not straight. they're
they
either
just
like
don't want
gay or
people to know who they
bisexual.
truly are.
And my whole point with this is that I think because they're not open about it, it becomes all consuming to them. And so they can't like check that part of them. They're like compulsively cheating.
It almost becomes like an addiction.
Yes.
Because
Also,
it's like you can't have it.
I
So
mean,
it's like even you want it even more.
a lot of the times too is like they are very like unhappy people.
For sure. And you know what that point reminds me of? Literally my favorite social science researcher and author in the entire world, Brené Brown. She talks about how like you cannot give someone what you don't have. And so they seem like very angry people because they're very angry themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You can't give someone else understanding. You can't give someone else patience. You can't give someone else love, belonging, respect if that's not something you have for yourself. I don't think that people who are, there's a difference between being private about who you are and being in denial about who you are. I don't think that people who are in denial about being gay or having same-sex attraction, I don't think that they can give other people all of those things because they can't even give it to themselves.
Yeah.
That's what I was just about to say. It's almost as if like they can't give it to themselves. So therefore the love is lost.
Totally.
The love is lost.
It's not, but the point is that it's not that the love is lost. The point is that it wasn't ever love.
To begin with.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
At least that's what I think.
No, it makes total sense. I mean, it's like that phrase goes, you can't love someone until you love
Oh
yourself.
my gosh, that was just popping in my
Yeah.
head too.
You know, like you can't. And I really think
it's
that
like-
that's true for anybody.
Right. And even though I'm not like, I don't identify as a Catholic person and I'm not super religious, I still think that the Bible has one of the best definitions of love that there is. Like love is honest.
Love is kind.
Love is patient.
Exactly. It's not self-seeking.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't be a loving partner to someone else if you're lying to them, if you're cheating on them, if you're, it's just like, I don't know, but
It's just, yeah. I mean, all in that. I mean, cheating is very bad. Just cheating's bad in general. I mean, it
but
hurts
so
people.
common.
Yeah.
It's very common, and unfortunately, it's just. I think now, in this day and age that we're at, cheating is easier for people.
Oh, it's so easy.
It's easy. You can get on an app in 2.5 seconds and go. I hate to say this, but go meet up with somebody and do a rendezvous.
It's
and
true.
Come back and your significant other would never know.
I don't have time for that. Like, honestly, I have no time for that. Like,
I don't even have the
Kara's
energy for
jokes
that.
around, like, are you cheating on me? I'm like, you have my location on my phone. Literally, we're together all the time. Like, everybody I work with. Like, there's zero chance I can't lie. So there's no way I could.
So the answer is no.
But if you really wanted to, I guess you could. Like, I mean, Lord, I have so much trust in that man. Like, I know he would never do that, but like, it's so true though.
But
Like,
it's like Chad and his boyfriend. You guys have a mutual.
we have
monogamous
an agreement as well.
Yeah, you have an agreement, and
At least I think we do. Karis, like, can we confirm on that one?
but again, it kind of speaks to the same point. Like, trust is such an incredibly difficult thing to do. Like, trust is a choice. Like most people don't walk around and just totally feel nothing but trust for their significant other because of like
It's gained.
it's gained, but the thing is, eventually it doesn't have to be cheating. It can be anything, but every intimate relationship experiences fractures in like trust, and so that's where like the whole mantra forgive but don't forget comes from.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, you have to choose to trust the person again. It's
Right.
always easy to point back to where they fucked up, and but you have to choose to trust the person. And again, if you don't have a relationship with trust with yourself, how can you ever trust someone else?
Yeah, it's true.
That's so.
Like,
Yeah, it's so true.
yeah,
So true. So at your high school, was there anything that happened that was crazy?
I was thinking about that is a great time to talk about. So absolutely there was. My freshman year, I was in the Pink Ribbon Club, so breast cancer awareness. The moderator for the club, he was also a history teacher at the high school.
It's always the history teachers.
It's
Wait,
always the
what's going
history
on here?
teachers. I would agree with that. But basically, he was pretending to be someone else online. A very attractive. No, he was pretending to be a very attractive person online.
Boy or girl?
Yeah, I was just about to say
Girl.
Okay.
At an all-boys school.
And he taught at this all-boys school. Can you see where this is going?
No.
Just keep going,
Sir,
put me out of misery, because I think where it's going, you need to put me out of it.
And I laugh now, and again, like back then it was like not funny at all, but he basically got his students to send themselves nude pictures of themselves to him. But of course they thought it was like this hot girl online.
So how is he
What?
what online platform was
Snapchat.
Shut the front
And he was
door.
just sending
And I
like,
think Facebook.
so he just got like photos of a random chick and was like, this is me, I'm Tiffany.
So they got catfished.
Totally catfished. And they're obviously minors. They're in high school.
And this happened at your...
This happened at my high school. And so it was a huge scandal.
How did they catch this guy?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I will say there was a lot of very powerful people that went to my powerful families that went to my high school. You know, like wherever there's money, there's a lot,
There's
usually
power,
power.
yeah.
So, obviously, wasn't a great plan of success for him if that's what he was hoping to do until the day he died. But he got arrested. They turned him over to the police. And he got arrested, and it was like a pretty big scandal. But
How long did it go on for?
I literally I don't know.
But was it when you were there?
But it was absolutely when I was there, and it was with like at least 10 different students.
Oh my gosh.
It wasn't like he just had this weird obsession with one person. He was suppressing the fact that he had same-sex attraction.
Yeah.
And because of that,
it boils down to everything we just talked about.
he couldn't keep that sexuality aspect in the box that it belonged to, and it bled into every area of his life, and it blew a path of destruction for himself and for the children he was supposed to be teaching.
And that like really sucks, because now he's putting this, like, he's essentially trauma on these teens.
So traumatizing.
Like, what?
Yeah, I think it's weird how quickly social media has changed. You know, like when I was very young, we had MySpace, which no one is like using anymore. But even like
top 8
on
MySpace.
You were the top like 4, top 2. You were it.
Oh yeah, you know.
But
I'm not in your top 8.
You are definitely in the top 8.
Duh.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay, I feel good.
Can I be like 7?
Yeah, you're on there.
But going back to like the theoretical kids that I don't have, if I had kids tomorrow, they would not have social media until they turned 18.
I know a lot of parents that do that.
Dude, I don't want our kids to have a phone.
They'd get flip phones.
Yeah, I'm giving you the flip phone. Call me when you're done with school. We have a high school rule. I want like high school. They don't get a phone till high school.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Well, I think that was more common then.
Yeah, now kids are
my
having,
younger
like,
cousins, like they get them in elementary school.
Yeah, they're like
I'm seeing,
7 and they're like,
yeah, like 5-year-olds having a better phone than I do. I'm like, what the heck? What are they doing? I want their day job.
seriously.
But that is very crazy to me that is something that was going on. And this happened to, you said about 10 students or more.
At least
10 students.
Yeah.
And through Snapchat and Facebook. Like it's very sick.
It's just exactly what he said. It's just like what it can lead to when you suppress these things that who you truly are.
I would have never guessed. And so it makes you very concerned, and it makes you not want to trust the people that you meet like day to day when stuff like this happens. And again, like it's a choice to trust people. And the truth is most people are not doing this, and most people are deserving of your trust. But it's just very scary. You know, like I would have never thought that he could do something like that.
That he was capable of this.
That he was capable of it. But, you know, I just think the society that we live in, for whatever weird, odd reason to me that I just can't figure out, like it just has this obsession with people's like bodies and sexuality. Like we're seeing it like all over politics. Like, I don't like to kind of make a very loose comparison. I think it's the weirdest thing in the world that male like politicians want to legislate a woman's body. I just don't understand it. I don't. Like,
right.
I don't know, why does that occupy so much of their attention, and why does someone being gay matter? You know, like why does it matter what you do at the doctor's office? Why does it matter what I want to do in the dark or with lights on at Friday night at 11? You know, like, why does that matter to you?
I don't like, just stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Honestly, if everybody just stood in their lane, I feel like this would be a way happier time. What do you think we as a society or we as people can do to do things differently?
This is a phenomenal. Go ahead. We're going to say something.
Well, I was
Maddie.
going to say, especially like making it more open where you didn't have to feel like it was so hard to come out.
Just like what can we do differently?
I think there's a few things. So for me, I want to say probably one of the biggest motivating factors for me to come out and for me to make the decision that it didn't matter if I was rejected or accepted because it was who I was, had to do with a very conscious choice to live intentionally. And I don't think that a lot of people recognize the importance of that. To live intentionally means that you don't wake up every day and the day happens by chance and what you do happens by chance and the choices you make are random. It means that you figure out what's important to you and then you align your entire life to that. And for me, integrity and authenticity was and still is a very driving force for me. Who you're talking to now is who I am. You know, I'm not.
I love that.
I love you.
Yeah. And I love you guys too, because you're both very genuine, honest people. And I think we really need to emphasize that part of the solution to not just like the problem of discrimination against gay people, but the solution to basically every problem in our society is to encourage people to live intentional lives, you know,
just
and
be
to
authentic.
be authentic, but also not just to be authentic, but to be accountable to yourself. You know, everybody would agree. If I were to walk down the street and ask someone, do you think it's important to be authentic? Everybody would say yes. Do you think it's important to Absolutely. Do you think it's important to have integrity? Everybody would say yes. Obviously, everyone's not doing it. And so I just can't stand like hypocrites. Hypocrites drive me crazy, and I didn't want to be a hypocrite. So
I love that.
I think
now you're living your best life.
Yeah, it leads us into our last question. So if you had one statement, one sentence, a one-liner, or like just like one thought, about your psycho.
If you're let me say it very clearly. If you're in the closet, get the fuck out.
Love it.
Period.
Love it.
Mic drop that shit.
It's so worth it. It's the best choice you can ever make.
I love that.
Thank you so much for
coming on our show. Chad, do you have a Instagram handle for your realtor yet?
I do.
Okay.
So I have a few. Obviously, Chatty Daddy is private. I know y'all are gonna want to follow it, but I'm gonna have to.
Can we get thumbs up on Chatty Daddy?
No.
We need to.
That one is closed off to the public. I'm sorry to say, but my main handle is at Chad Has It. Chad has what? Chad has it. Yeah.
Chad has it.
Okay.
I also just want to say I'm super excited because my realtor Instagram is finally launching next week. So
let's do
stay
it.
tuned.
Anybody need a house in SoCal?
And do you have the name of it yet?
That handle is at the Real House Agent.
Love it.
At the Real House Agent. Ladies and gentlemen.
Great.
Everybody.
Thank you so much for coming on our podcast, Chad. And we both want to just let you know, like, I know that it was a long time ago, but we're so proud of you that you made that decision because we love you and it made you who you are today.
Yeah,
I love you guys too.
To see you happy and to see you living your best life is what you want for everybody.
And I hope that this gives somebody else the courage to do that as well.
Yeah, to get the fuck out of the closet.
To everybody watching, Just be yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
be
do you,
yourself.
baby. Do you.
Just
Do you, baby
Yeah.
boo? There's always gonna hate is gonna hate. Hate is gonna
Oh
hate.
my gosh.
We want to know, do you have a psycho?
Person, place, or thing.
Send your submissions to,
TEA at newportpsycho.com.
and you can be anonymous or you can be physically here
We'd love for you to join us. Tell
Come
us.
on.
Who's your psycho?
at the Newport Psycho.